friends, and welcome back to our homestead. Today I'm in the kitchen because I need to decide on what to do with these green tomatoes. Recently I harvested the last of our tomatoes because the frost is already here and I needed to take them off the vine, and I still had a lot of green tomatoes, like literally a 5-gallon bucket of green tomatoes. Some of them were already turning ripe, and I say put them aside so I can ripen them in a newspaper and cook them or eat them fresh. But the rest of these tomatoes I need to process. So I've decided, after I posted a short little video on YouTube and asking people on Instagram and YouTube, what should I do? What are your recommendations? And so many ideas came through. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Some of you said fry them up, make fried green tomatoes. The other one said make green tomato salsa. Others said make tomato verde sauce. So I'm gonna be turning this into verde sauce. I can't pronounce it correctly, I apologize. So I've harvested a bunch of my peppers as well, and again, these are the last of my peppers, and I'm gonna utilize them in this recipe as well. So today I'm gonna be making roasted green tomato sauce, also known as verde sauce. And it's really good with chicken. That's how I like to use it. So let me show you the ingredients I'm going to be using today. And I guys gonna make a double batch, so I'm going to be doubling everything, but I'll give you the recipe as if you were making just one batch. And I'm not going to be using lime juice today. I'm going to be using regular 5% vinegar. That's all, 5% acidity vinegar, because I didn't have any lime juice. If I had lime juice, I would have used lime juice, but in this case, just vinegar. All right, let's get going. Okay, for this recipe, you're going to need, and I'm going to read this to you guys from my old recipe book here. So for this green tomato salsa or sauce verde, we're going to be needing 8 pounds of green tomatoes, 3 large onions, 3 or 4 jalapeno peppers if you like them, 6 garlic cloves, 1 cup of vinegar, and I have more to here because I'm doubling up, but 1 cup of vinegar or 1 cup of fresh lime juice. We're gonna need some cilantro. If you're using fresh, we're gonna need about a half a cup, but I'm using my dried cilantro that I prepared myself. Some salt. I'm gonna have 2 tablespoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and half a teaspoon of cumin, but only if you like cumin. If you don't like cumin, you don't have to use it. All right, so what I need to do right now, so I'm going to put my spices aside because I don't need them right now, and the vinegar is going to go aside. I don't need it either. Some of these tomatoes are still kind of yellow, they're not very ripe, so I'm going to use them as well. And I'm going to be using some of my peppers. Some of them are hot peppers I have from the garden, some of them are not hot peppers, and it's not that many of them, so I'm just going to use them up as well in this recipe. So we need to roast these vegetables, okay? So that's why I put them in my baking dish, and we need to roast them. I also like to examine them. So this batch is already done, but I like to also examine them and make sure that nothing is wrong with them. And I like to cut out this little place from the stems, because I found that some of them are a little bit black on the inside, like something went bad, because this is the end of the season. So I'm going to examine them and make sure they're, like this one for example, say it's going bad, so I'm just going to cut out that, so I'm not using it. Okay, and I'm going to cut out the little butts here as well. All right, so that's exactly what I need to do with all of them. As far as the peppers, I'm going to leave them whole just like this for roasting, and then only at the end I'm going to take the stems off. And if you want to leave the seeds in, you can leave them in. I'm going to leave them in because I don't have that many hot peppers here at all. All right, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Garlic, I'm going to roast it separately because garlic burns fast and I don't want to have a burned garlic. All right, so let me go through these tomatoes real quick. I'm just going to quickly inspect them, make sure there's nothing bad with them, and I'm just going to destem them, whatever you want to call it. Oh, wrong place. This goes here, this goes here. And cut them, you know, things that are maybe not very good, like there's a little blemish here. I need to make sure that it's good inside. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go through all of them real quick before I put them in the oven, all right? The roasting temperature, I'm gonna set the oven at 450 degrees. And I'm gonna roast these vegetables for about half an hour. 15 minutes into it, I'm going to flip them so nothing is burned, but they kind of like get that nice and soft charred look almost, all right, without burning throughout. And garlic is going to be done much quicker, so I have to pay attention to that, okay? With onions, I'm just gonna take my peeled onion and I'm gonna quarter them into 4 parts, and I'm gonna put them in my roasting dish as well. And I'm going to also roast them for about half an hour, but I'm gonna keep an eye on them because you know how onion can burn. And about 15 minutes into it, I will flip them, okay, like flip around. And if the need is, I will even take them out because I don't want burned stuff. I just want it to be roasted stuff. And there is a very fine line that I like to keep. All right, so I'm gonna try to keep it single layer as much as possible, but I think I'm gonna run out of space. All right, so here, almost done. All right, so 450 degree oven goes in for roasting. Okay, so most of these vegetables are already roasted. I ended up taking the top layer of tomatoes off because they were roasting too much and the bottom ones were not, so I left the other ones in the oven for another 5 minutes. But the onions are roasted, the garlic is roasted, and the peppers are roasted. So the next thing we're gonna need is we're gonna need a food processor or a blender or whatever you want it to do, because we need to pulverize all of this. So all I'm gonna be doing is just dropping my soft onion in here, just like this. All right, and you can mix it up so because it has to become nice and soft blend, okay? I'm gonna be dropping, it's already cooled off a little bit. I'm gonna be dropping, oh, I think I gotta go check on my tomatoes. I'm gonna be dropping the garlic in here, and it has a beautiful roasted color. Come on, oh, dropping them. Roasted color, and they smell so good. Okay. I'm gonna be dropping some tomatoes in here. I don't want to overfill it because sometimes it goes up and I don't want it to make a mess. All right, and now I'm just gonna put a cover on. I always like to keep a towel on top, and I'm just going to turn it on so it's just sort of like blended. Nice and smooth. All right, so here are my peppers, and if you like to keep them spicy, you can keep the whole pepper, but just take off the stems. But if you like more mild, then you can go ahead and take out the seeds, but I'm gonna keep it just like this and throw it in here, okay? And I'm gonna blend all the peppers as well. All right, so now I'm just gonna be putting everything in a large saucepan, or in my case, it's just a gigantic pot that I have. And I'm gonna keep pulverizing in small batches and keep adding in here until everything is full, and then I'm gonna add my spices. All right, so the roasting is done. Look at them, look how pretty they are. Okay, some of them a little bit more charred than others, but it's gonna be perfect. So I'm just gonna let them cool off for a minute or two because I don't like to work with super hot. And I'm gonna put everything through the blender to make sure everything is nice and smooth. Okay, so now I'm gonna put on heat and I'm gonna cook it. I'm gonna wait until it comes to a boil, and I'm gonna cook for 15 minutes. All right, and so in the meanwhile, I'm gonna add all of my spices. And for spices, I've got cilantro, okay, and I'm gonna put dry in my case, my own cilantro saved up. All right, I'm gonna put black pepper, and I'm gonna put salt in here, okay? I'm gonna leave some of the salt out, and I'm gonna taste it towards the end to make sure that it's good and salty enough, okay? Because you can always add salt, but guess what, my friends? You cannot remove. And in my case, I'm not really gonna put any cumin. Why? Because I don't like cumin. So, but if you like cumin, you can always add cumin at this stage as well. So I'm just gonna stir this all up and wait until it comes to a boil. When it's almost done cooking, that's when I'm gonna be adding my vinegar. All right, beautiful color. All right, so this has been cooking for about 10 minutes. It's getting a little thicker now. It's been boiling. So I turned down the heat a little bit to medium low, probably like that. And at this point, I'm gonna add the vinegar. Again, you guys can use lime juice if you like. I didn't have any, so here it is. I used up just regular white vinegar. It's gonna come to a boil again, and I'm just gonna let it cook for the last 5 minutes. And this is a really good time to taste it and see if you like it, and if you need to make adjustments, make it spicier, make it saltier, whatever, because this is your recipe and you guys should be able to do that, whatever you like, you know what I mean? So, all right, let this cook for a little bit. All right, so my jars are sterilized, and I'm just gonna pour some boiling water over my lids and my rings. Again, you don't have to do that, but I like how they're nice and hot and much more pliable. So when the time is to seal the jars, they do a good job. All right, so it's time to start jarring, I should say, the Verde sauce. Look at that, nice and thick. So my jars are sterilized, nice and hot. So whenever I'm putting any kind of hot content, it has to go into a hot jars as well. Otherwise, they will crack and you're gonna lose a lot of good stuff. All right, so I'm gonna leave about 1/2 inch of headspace. All right, 1/2 inch of headspace. And all that means is just how much is at the top of the jar left. And I'm just gonna keep filling them all up until they're all nicely filled. I tasted it. It's a little bit vinegary. I wish I had lime juice now, but it should be okay. But I'm sure lime juice would have added a whole different flavor and aroma to it. All right, 1/2 inch headspace, and to the next. This is fun, guys, this is fun. All right, so the jars are nicely filled. One thing that I like to do, I always run a nice paper towel, just moistened with a little bit of vinegar, just to wipe the rims, make sure there's nothing on them, so I have a nice and strong seal. And now I'm just gonna put my lids and rings on, and it's gonna be finger tight. How tight? To your finger, meaning that it's without a machine. And they're gonna go into the water bath canner. Oh, it's stuck together. Just gonna add a little bit more water to make sure that everything is nicely covered. All right, I'm gonna put a cover on now and set the timer for 25 minutes. Okay, friends, so we have 7 quarts and I have 2 pints in the canner still because it needs different processing time. So I processed these for 25 minutes and the pints I'm gonna process for 20 minutes. And total out of my double batch, I have pretty much 8 quarts. So friends, I hope you are encouraged not to throw away those green tomatoes because the season is over and those tomatoes are gonna freeze unless you pick them and do something with them. And in my case, we have our green salsa or salsa verde. So friends, I hope you are encouraged and try something new.